Why all the hooligans? At the European Football Championships in France, clashes again breaking out in Lille Wednesday night after Russia-Slovakia and ahead of Wales-England. Here we are in 2016, still asking how effective things like alcohol bans are, why the need to have arrests, deportations, especially in the wake of last week's rioting in Marseille, before, during, and after England-Russia. How did a determined group of some 150 Russian hooligans manage to catch the cops off guard? Was Moscow right to summon the French ambassador and to claim that the story smacks of Russia bashing? How does it bode for the next World Cup to be hosted in 2 years' time in Russia? Once again, where there are major sporting events, politicians are not far behind. It's more than just trying to cash in on the feel-good factor of a win or a good show. Is Euro 2016 more than just a tournament? Is football a force for good that celebrates the diversity of the teams that play, or an outlet for sectarian and nationalist rivalries? Today in the France 24 debate, we're looking at what it looks a lot to most people like the return of the hooligan. And with us from Lens, France 24 sports editor Kedevan Gorjestani. Also joining us, historian Sébastien Louis, author of The Hooligan Phenomenon in Italy, History of Hooliganism from 1968 to 2005. Thank you for being with us. Thanks as well to Edouard Chanot, journalist for the French language edition of Russian news agency Sputnik. Welcome.
Thanks for inviting me.
And from Moscow, writer Vladimir Kozlov, the author of Fanaties, I guess you could translate that as football fans, who for Vice News penned a piece entitled How Russians Became the Biggest, Baddest Hooligans of Euro 2016. Thank you for joining us. The France 24 debate, where you can weigh in on Facebook and Twitter, the hashtag F24debate. Let's cross to Kedevan Gorjestani in Lens. There was a lot of worry after the fact that Russia were playing not far away 24 hours ago. Now we've just seen England versus Wales. First of all, sportingly, a different kind of contest. It was billed as the Battle of Britain, but much more camaraderie between rival fans.
Yes, the fans were celebrating ahead of the game together, the Welsh and the English drinking on the streets of Lille together. And they said that the battle would be on the pitch, and it remained on the pitch. And of course, England prevailed, beating Wales 2-1 with a last-minute goal by Daniel Sturridge. So of course, the England fans who were overwhelmingly present here in Lens were very, very happy, and they're still very happy, as you can maybe see behind me. So of course, it went all pretty smoothly here in Lens, with a lot of the fans deciding to leave very quickly after the game. A lot of them got on buses to return to England or Wales. A lot of them got in front of this train station to try to get on the first trains out, either to Lille, so a lot of them are going to Lille, or back to England.
A different scene from what you were witnessing 24 hours ago.
Yes, well, yesterday we were in Lille. We went to the Russia-Slovakia game that took place at the same time as this one, around 3 p.m. There, the atmosphere was very good. No problems with the Russian or the Slovakia fans. But then when we returned to the Lille city center, hundreds of England fans were already present in Lille to party ahead of today's game. It went pretty well for a while, for a few hours, and then all of a sudden there was quite a bit of action, chases in the street between the French police forces and the England fans. It all went pretty well in the afternoon. The situation got under control, but then as the night fell, there were more clashes. There were at least 36 people arrested last night in Lille because of these clashes. And there was a fear that it would be because of the Russia fans who were there, and they would fight with the English fans. But it seems, even though there are some reports about a few Russia fans involved in the clashes yesterday in Lille, it seemed to have been mostly an English affair, pitting English fans against French forces.
Sébastien Louis, we thought that hooliganism and English hooliganism was something of the past.
No, this is a kind of myth. Hooliganism never disappeared in England. In fact, at the end of the 80s, for sure, it's reduced, and with, as we said already, with Lord Taylor, with change of stadium, new regulation, a new policy tactic, for sure, hooliganism decreased, but also for internal reason. Anyway, in the 90s, hooliganism was still there. We maybe remember the riot of Ireland, England, or have a riot during World Cup '98 in France, in Marseille. But still, hooliganism was still there, but in a lower way. In fact, the real center of hooliganism passed from the west to the east of Europe.
Passed to the west to the east. Thus, we had this standoff between England and Russia supporters over the weekend in Marseille.
Yes and no. For sure, the Russian hooligans get some point. Everybody speak about them, even us tonight. So for sure, it's a kind of unofficial classification we exist in Europe and even in the world, because there is on the World Forum of Hooliganism, news, video, everything is very, it's edited by the hooligan and it's posted on YouTube.
So they go out and fight, and then afterwards they post their exploits on the internet.
Yeah, because it's they use new technology. It's a reflect of our society. We are a society where media everywhere. Everybody is a media, and in fact there is a very famous video that 1 million people saw in 2 days with a Russian hooligan who put a GoPro camera on his belly and went for 20 minutes in the city, and it's quite crazy and quite amazing. It shows a lot, and it explains a lot about our society and the vision we have of ourselves.
All right, ask the interested parties between the England and Russia fans, and well, you'll get wildly differing accounts of what happened.
We've been tear gassed because the Russians come at the English. All the English did was protect themselves. They're protecting themselves, got rid of the Russians, and now we'll get blind.
I was at the stadium when the English came. They took coins and threw them at us fans. They did this for several minutes. Imagine that. I stood there with my child. It poured down with coins. It really hurt.
Vladimir Kozlov, I'm going to give you the latest news here out of France, which is 3 Russia supporters have been sentenced to up to 2 years behind bars. The French Interior Ministry saying that Russian intelligence helped them to secure those arrests and convictions. How is this story playing out where you are?
Actually, I think there are two different attitudes to this story. Some people, especially top-ranking officials, they are trying to stress that they are condemning hooligans, and it's quite understandable because Russia could lose the right to host the 2018 FIFA World Cup if things like that continue to happen. On the other hand, there are people who are kind of siding with those hooligans in Marseille, saying that they kind of stood up for Russia by beating up the English who provoked them.
Interesting that you say that. We're going to hear one account from a sports reporter in Moscow. He admits that hooligans there had definitely beforehand circled England-Russia in their diary.
The Russian fans went to France to, let's say, test their strength against the British fans. It's clear that it's impossible to control all of these fans. It can't be done either by the Russian Football Union or probably by the French police. But in this case, local authorities and local law enforcement should have done something.
All right, the finger being pointed there at French police. Your thoughts on that, Edouard Chenot?
Well, regarding the French police, of course, they were overwhelmed. If you follow the news, you know that the French police, gendarmerie also is being very much working on many other political problems, on labor law, for instance. So that's true that the French police could have done more, but there are other responsibilities that could be pointed out. I'm first thinking about the UEFA, which was the organization which chose Marseille as for the game. It was very imprudent for three reasons. The first one is Marseille. Of course, it's a beautiful city. I very much love Marseille. But there is a big problem of security and integration in Marseille. So that may be challenging for organizing such a game in this city. Second point is...
Last night there were no problems for France-Albania. The two sides partied together.
Maybe not, but last week for the game against between Russia and England, we saw riots as soon as Thursday between people from Marseille, from the northern areas of the city, and English supporters. As soon as Thursday, I saw, you can watch videos, for instance, on Periscope by a British supporter who is actually a former football fan, Stan Collymore, who posted pictures of 300 people from these northern areas chasing British supporters. That's something that should have been thought about before organizing this game. The second point I wanted to mention was the fact that troubles also already happened in Marseille in 1998 during the World Cup between England and Tunisia. So there were precedents regarding those kind of problems.
So UEFA shouldn't have held the competition.
Yes.
It shouldn't have held England versus Russia in Marseille. Sébastien Louis, a word about the police, because you were in Lens earlier. How do you think French riot police are handling football crowds?
Very, very badly. The culture of the police, it's an aggressive one, and it's to show off, and it's really not good. When I arrived at the train station, I was with my luggage, like a normal guy without any scarf, and there were people pointing the flashball out of me, 3 people with a scarf on their head and with police, and it was really quite frightening. The image that the football fan of France is of big guy with a flashball looking at them in a bad way. And in fact, all this, it's a bit provocating. A kind of...
it's unnecessary?
It's unnecessary. It's for sure unnecessary. If you look in Germany or in England, you can see the police, but in a very low-profile style. In France, we are not in this low-profile strategy, and this is a real problem. This is the first one.
Kedevan Gorgestani, have you seen the same thing? Police nervous, on edge?
The police were really all over the town, not necessarily on edge. They were really paying attention to what was going on. There were a few times, especially yesterday in Lille, where we saw them circling the fans. The England fans were in front of a bar chanting, and you could see the riot police really coming around, circling them, also with the help of some England and Wales police officers. So they were all standing there just waiting hoping that nothing would happen, but waiting for anything to happen. So it was really, I mean, all we've seen really is big groups of police, but not necessarily intervening, but waiting to be there when something happened.
Sébastien Louis?
When I was in Arras last night, so it's a town at 20 kilometers of Lens, police at midnight intervened and closed all the bar. 1,000 English fans were partying, and the attitude of police was really aggressive because they come to the English fans and they kick them out of the bar and of the main square of Arras. And it's a bit characteristic of this not low-profile strategy. In Germany, as I said, as in Austria or in England, there is a real low profile. There is a lot of police around the game, but it doesn't mean they have such behavior. And as I said, already last season in France, 218 games were without away fans. So the police is not anymore used to football fans traveling.
So their solution to any hint of trouble is to just ban visiting fans from going to the game.
This was a strategy of the DNLH, Division Nationale de Lutte contre le Hooliganisme, the cells of the Interior Ministry in France fighting against hooliganism. And it's really a wrong strategy because they're any more used to away fan was a particular behavior. In fact, the English and Welsh fans are doing party. They are coming a bit like in an Ibiza spirit, drinking a lot, partying with the local people, and even in the train they behave quite well, even if they were drunk with ladies that were in the train with me today to go to Lens.
Okay, Vladimir Kozlov, your prediction, how will Russian authorities handle fans when they host the World Cup in 2018?
This is a big question, actually, because over the last couple years, this issue hasn't been properly dealt with. There was a law on sports fans that was adopted 2 years ago, but it's not really working. And because there have been relatively few violent incidents at football matches over the last couple of years, the issue seems to be neglected. But situations like this one, like clashes between the Russians and the English in Marseille, they show that the issue is actually there. And I really hope that it will send a signal to Russian authorities. And they've been already talking about doing something about football hooligans, because there is.
Do you have faith, Vladimir, that they can have the sort of light touch that Sébastien Louis was describing, getting people to go speak to the leaders of certain hardcore groups before the trouble begins, to give them basically to lay down the law, tell them what the rules are?
No, I don't think so. I think it'll have to be quite hard, but efficient, like properly separating fans from different countries who could potentially have fights, and just tightening security, properly searching fans. And actually, this tactics has worked here in Russia. This is why we haven't really had too many incidents at football games.
All right, we're going to pick up on that point when we come back. Stay with us. You're watching the France 24 debate.